in Bratislava is some of the bike paths. The origin. So
yeah, I know that these like Meske Zasahy, like these kind of things, just painting on pavements.
Just to explain, so they were trying to lobby the city government to have these bike paths, and they were like, oh no, it's not possible, blah blah blah. So one day at 4 a.m. they just took the paint, painted the bike path on the road, and when the maintenance came, after winter they opened the documentation, the architectural documentation, and say, okay, it's a road, but clearly there's also a bike path here, and which is not in the documentation, but reality is reality. Bike path is there, we can see it. So they said, okay, so the documentation is obviously wrong, so they fixed the documentation, which was the thing they wanted to do in the first place.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Mtambo's podcast. My name is Jakub Mtambo, and today we have a special guest with us, a man who wears many hats, a serial entrepreneur, a co-founder of Parallel Polis in Prague and Bratislava, and a serial author of 3 books covering on crypto, biohacking, and anti-fragility during times of big changes. He's a member of the Network State, and together with Jakub, they organized physical meetups in Slovakia, tested the Network State app, and had the group calls with Balaji Silverson. Joining with me is also Jakub Simek, who is a co-founder of Wezesha and an author of Wisdom Enterprising. And now, dear friends, here is Juraj Bednar. Juraj, welcome to Mtambo's podcast. It's a great honor to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm looking forward.
Okay, the pleasure is all ours, Juraj. Now let's jump right into the topics we have aligned up for today's discussion. Let's first delve into your article titled "Post-COVID Economic Recovery." I've had the chance to read your thought-provoking article and really resonated with me. Your insights on how COVID-19 crisis acted as a catalyst for transformation in various aspects of our lives, including technology, business, and social dynamics on the future of our society post-pandemic, were truly captivating. In it, you outlined some key strategies for countries to bounce back stronger. Could you please share with us the key ideas you wrote in this thought-provoking article?
Sure. So first, some background, because it's I'm quite often discussing and criticizing what governments do. Maybe similar to Jakub, when you read his Twitter feed, you always see, okay, this can be done better, or criticizing what they actually do. And when you criticize people, as also in government, they often reply, okay, so please tell me what we should do. You're so smart, so where are your positive suggestions? Anyone can criticize. So I said, okay, if I wanted to, which I don't think I have any kind of influence over politics, and I don't aspire to be a politician or even a political influencer. But what was interesting to me is that many organizations, think tanks, nonprofits, they throw out these policy papers, and they usually have an agenda behind them. So depends of if it's a progressive think tank or libertarian think tank, the content will be different. I wanted to try it out. So most of my work doesn't look as serious as written by whatever an auditing company or a think tank, but I wanted to kind of play with it and see where it goes. So on one hand, it's a little bit of a joke, but on the other hand, I wanted to write a real policy paper, so with a good suggestions. So I think basically the main point is about the deregulation, and this is based on one key element that I see that many, especially governments and politicians and people working for the state, don't understand. So most of these people, they think that the way that it works is they make up the rules and we all have to comply. It's basically, you're a lawmaker, you write a law, or then it goes through whatever parliament, president signs it, and the bill becomes a law, and now everyone complies. So this is their point of view. But in reality, that's not the case at all, because we are people of planet Earth, and we can, in many cases, choose these regulatory frameworks. Of course, it's not equal, it's not evenly distributed. There are people with some kinds of passports that cannot just easily travel wherever they want. There are even people who do not have a government ID or a travel document at all. So we have to think about them. But in general, most people can, at least in some aspects, pick and choose. So maybe you can travel, but you can start a business in some other country, maybe, or not even a country. Maybe you move to the cyphersphere and operate in this realm. Maybe we will talk about it a little bit later. Where we have seen it was during COVID, is when countries were doing lockdowns. People were kind of choosing this regulatory framework. I was just in Mexico 2 weeks ago, and there are many people who permanently moved to Mexico just because they didn't introduce any lockdowns and any restrictions for people. So for these people, Mexico was a good destination. And what is interesting is that they stayed. Now there are no lockdowns anywhere in the world. There are, you don't need a vaccination pass if that's important for you. But these people stayed, and the reason they stayed is, okay, we've been here, we like it here, and we know that when something bad happens, probably this country will not be the harsh one. So deregulation combined with this market for rules, for regulations, means that when there's a regulatory barrier anywhere in the world, be it European Union and crypto, be it for example like basic liberties in Russia or in China, all these things create a business opportunity for competing countries to offer a better service. That's basically the idea. So the main idea was to promote the deregulation and to show this dynamic that countries choose. So one of the first example, in 2014, New York State's first superintendent for financial services introduced the bid license. So bid license was this was basically a license to provide that companies needed to provide virtual currency services. So of course, again, this thinking, I am whatever superintendent of financial services. I said you need a license. and you all need to comply. And what happened, we know, most of the companies just left New York and did their business elsewhere. They said, okay, there are whatever 7 billion people on the planet, so screw few million in New York. Yes, they are rich, they could be good customers, but it just doesn't make sense, and we have a whole new field, whole opportunity to provide these services. So I enjoy looking at these dynamics, but then I needed to be positive. I needed to say to the countries, okay, what to the regulate in, and to tell them, okay, this is what you need to do in order to attract business, in order to promote this post-COVID recovery. So basically, the main topics are attract the new crypto economy, which is happening mainly in Latin America now, maybe Africa, maybe some Asian countries. European Union just passed a super insane regulation called Markets in Cryptocurrency Assets, MICA, and they basically kicked out all business out of European Union. So actually the closest country where they could go is Switzerland, which is not part of the EU. What is interesting is that this new crypto economy is very uniquely detached from territory. So it really doesn't matter. You can have programmers in Paris, living in the center of Paris, working on a project that doesn't serve customers from France at all, and they can serve customers from whatever, Panama. It doesn't matter. So one of the first things, okay, if you want these businesses, this new crypto economy, and it's a whole new field of finance, basically, and probably not only finance quite soon. So you can either say, okay, we will regulate you, and then you basically informally kick them out, or you can say, come here, please, to do the business in our country, maybe employ some local people, maybe spend some of the profits in our country, and you can do this. So and we can see it's kind of like some countries get it, some countries don't get it, and they're kind of closed in their whatever parliament hall and government buildings, and don't see the real world. For this, I recommend it 0% tax for crypto income and especially capital gains. 0% is not 0.1%, it's not 1%, it's not 5%, it's zero. Zero means you don't need to do accounting. So the problem is, I don't know what platforms your podcast is on, but maybe you can use new value to value, value for value streaming platforms where listeners can stream you some Satoshi through the Lightning Network. And for this, you would need to account for every minute. So it's a streaming payment. It's not something that you have seen in finance so far, and you get subs, and you get like a tenth of US dollar cent amount, and then you need to account, okay, what was the exchange rate when you got it, which is the same, which is different for this minute and for the next minute. It's streaming per minute. And then when you spend it, you need to weight average all the income. And like I couldn't even imagine how a tax declaration form for capital gains for this would look like. It would be absolutely insane. Of course, you can say, okay, calculate all the money I got in one day, and let's say, okay, let's take an average exchange rate. But even then, every day someone clicks play on a podcast, you receive 2 cents, and it needs to go to a tax declaration. So so actually, I think 0% is the only thing that makes sense. It's not outrageous. Most countries have 0% capital gains for gold, for example, which used to be money. So money is not something that should be taxed. It's not doing anything. It's not earning interest. It's not there's no capital appreciation. It's not paying you dividends. It's money. So you should not be forced to do this kind of low level accounting. So I'm not saying that every country should abolish income tax. Of course, it's the smartest thing to do, but I will not win many friends. But for capital gains, it doesn't make any sense. So there are actually many countries, especially in Latin America, United Arab Emirates, many countries in Asia that actually got the memo and understand that this is not something that you should do to tax capital gains.
So it's basically like Bitcoin is digital gold, and when you are not taxing gold, you shouldn't tax Bitcoin or crypto more in generally. As like maybe like some kind of like moral justification, and then there is this practical justification that you also mentioned in the paper, the some new instruments like flash loans that have
Exactly.
no duration, and wrapped BTC and these kind of things. So it's like maybe probably you would need like an AI to do a tax return for you, but probably the EU will ban also ChatGPT and
Yes.
some kind of AI. So it's kind of like yeah, it's just impractical. Actually, I did tax returns once for crypto, just like to test it, and it was not easy. It was just yeah, just playing with numbers. I mean, I really tried hard. It took me maybe a couple of hours, and then I settled on some number and just reported it.
And you were probably just buying and selling, so
yeah, just buying, selling on
no flash loans, no weird instruments. You have new kinds of derivatives. You have streaming payments, as I said. You have all these new things that like.
Yeah, that was it was like trading, selling, buying, and also a bit of mining, but just like not directly, but like just like paying for a service that was like Genesis mining back in the days, and then I kind of tried to calculate some average, and basically what I settled is like how much money I put in, how much I took out, and somehow I don't know, did some average there, and something that I liked was like, okay, maybe this I can report. Yeah, it's just to try it out, and I won't do it again. Maybe just hodling until the system breaks or something. I don't know. Yeah, it was.
It's the best strategy, definitely. If you don't have realized capital gains, means you don't sell, you don't pay capital gains tax. So this is actually not about not paying taxes. That's the easier part. If you don't have income, you don't pay income tax. If you don't have capital gains, you don't pay capital gains tax. So actually not paying taxes is super easy. You just don't do those things that are taxed. Of course, it is important to know how to do it. But for example, if we are talking about capital gains tax on crypto, usually the easiest thing to do is just use the crypto as collateral for loans. So that's what all the rich people do. Elon Musk is not paying income tax because
margin loans.
He puts in his Tesla stock to the bank, says this is collateral, this is what is backing my loan, please give me $10 million. It's not income, so it's tax free, and you don't pay any taxes. So like I'm not as much promoting, lowering the tax burden. I'm promoting lowering the mental burden that you have to deal with if you want to participate in this new economy.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, maybe a smart thing to do would be just like some kind of subscription fee, like Balaji in the network state. I think he also kind of, like you enter some kind of jurisdiction and you kind of have some subscription fee. But if you like a member or something, but if you want to exit, the exit should be as simple and as easy as possible. I think the more, I mean, the easier the exit, the more ethical the jurisdiction is. And so then you can maybe also compare or do some kind of jurisdictions shopping. You also mentioned there like this you used in the policy paper, and also now you mentioned like a supermarket of regulations. So it's like a nice term. So maybe if you can elaborate on that.
Yeah, it's like it's basically the same process as if you're buying a car. You go to a car dealership and you see, okay, I like this one. Maybe I will use this car for trips with my family. Maybe I will use this car when I want to whatever, ride in the desert, and you can pick and choose. Often you don't have to buy, you can actually rent, or it's like whatever, choosing bread or something like that. And we are in this situation. Most people think that all the regulations come bundled with their citizenship, which is not the case. Most people can open business in countries where they are not even a resident. You cannot do it physically there without a work permit usually, but you can open a company in the US online, and it can cost $100 or even less in New Mexico or Wyoming or something like that. So for business, you can choose jurisdiction. It used to be the case that you could choose your banking jurisdiction. This is becoming increasingly hard, and it is quite difficult to actually open a bank account without residency. Even if you have a company somewhere, even a company bank account is getting harder. But here you can choose the crypto jurisdiction, which doesn't ask for anything. You just generate a random number and you have an account. So that's quite easy. Of course, we pick countries where we spend time, or for leisure, for travel, but also for these can be also used for consumptions. For example, if you live in a country with super high consumption taxes, such as value added tax or sales tax or import duties and these things, customs, then you can actually go somewhere else where you can do these things. So in this case, consume for a lot less. So just a super simple example that I used to do is when I traveled in the US, I was doing shopping for any kind of supplements and medicine, because over-the-counter medicine is much cheaper in the US than in Europe. Maybe it's because of taxes, maybe it's because of the amount in pill, but I realized, okay, this is half the price. And you don't need to choose everything. You can say, okay, but in the US, I don't want to buy an apartment in San Francisco because it's not safe and it's expensive. I don't want to buy whatever. I don't want to spend money for surgery in the US. That's crazy expensive. I would rather go to either Dubai or Switzerland or Netherlands for medical tourism. So it's like kind of breaking apart this notion of this is my passport, this says which country I'm citizen of, and I have to use all of their services. No, you don't have to. I'm not saying it is always possible. I'm definitely not saying it's cheap. It can be more expensive, but there are options at least to think about. And in many cases, one of the best options is the crypto jurisdiction, which doesn't discriminate. That's what is super weird. We are listening to all this talk about non-discriminating people, and all the countries, or most of the countries, discriminate based on passport, and it is like super insane. You have these fields at the universities about inclusivity and non-discrimination, and then there's a guy coming, or a girl, or whoever, a human, coming with the wrong passport, and they say no, or 30 days and then go away. It's weird, right?
I think that's the Balaji says you have to start with moral justification first, and especially in crypto, it started like with the Genesis block, and it's like criticism of the 2008 financial crisis. So it's like it's kind of baked into crypto, like this kind of also some kind of moral critique of society. And here, like with the pseudonymous economy, it's like often like vilified and kind of it's just but it's actually, the pseudonymous economy means like true meritocracy, because you don't know if you are. It could be like a I don't know, a young girl somewhere from Africa, just like coding or doing better, or being a better writer or better coder than someone who is like Ivy League educated from Brooklyn, and and with the AI, as a symbiotic intelligence, like people all around the world have now really a chance to create their own stories, content, code to disrupt the legacy institutions. And I think they will fight back, and use all these like kind of kind of outdated concepts, or just like scaremongering that it's like I don't know, they're protecting, but what they're protecting is not the diversity, but like some kind of faux diversity. It's just like some token diversity, but it's basically centralization in disguise. Or you could even say, how
would you even justify protecting diversity in this way?
No, because you can have this like token diversification or faux diversity, sorry, not diversification, like basically, like what you see in Hollywood. Let's say you have like some kind of quotas for, I don't know, various ethnicities, but it's centralized because it's like the American concept of diversity, but you could have like, I don't know, there are 40 something tribes in Kenya, 42 or 45.
Yeah, 42.
42. Okay, I still remember it. So and there are sub tribes within those tribes, and each of these tribes can create their own stories, and they're actually quite different. They might be like more different cultures than, let's say, us and Norwegians or something like that. So they, if they are creating stories, I don't know, using let's say some centralized AI, and now they will be offered some images that are basically like the US centric, or some kind of like Anglo-Saxon woke culture kind of thing. But but maybe they just want to create like their stories based on like their tribe or various tribes from, let's say, one region of Kenya, and so therefore like something like Stable Diffusion, or like some decentralized AI is kind of crucial. But sorry, we kind of moved to the AI topic, but I think the principle here, it's the pseudonymous economy, I think, is also like important, like as a moral critique or justification, that you want true meritocracy and true diversity. So it's kind of like the blind auditions in let's say in music, in in classical music. So I think it's the same principle, so it's of course it's also for the persecuted and dissidents, but it's also like for anyone who just like kind of preventing discrimination is baked into the technology. Because with
Yes.
AI filters now you could sound British and you could look, I don't know, as you want, with some AI filters coming soon to Zoom or to other places. And
Yeah, I think
yeah.
I think I can turn myself into at least a cat. I don't know if they have cool lions like
Okay.
like Duke has, but yeah. So I think this was actually kind of the point of the original internet. I remember, I was when I first start using the internet, I was basically going out of elementary school and into high school. So I was like, I don't know, 14, no, not even that, 12, and you entered chat rooms, you entered online discussions. There were no photos, it was all terminal based, and we were interacting, and I could talk to whatever a professor from Stanford. And first of all, they had no idea that I was like some 12-year-old dude from Slovakia, which they never heard of, probably, usually confused with Slovenia. So if I told them, they asked me how was the war. That's kind of the fun thing. But no, we were not even discussing these things. We were talking about opinions of the world, technologies and everything. And you didn't even need an AI. You needed good written English. That's how that was the only thing that could kind of tell your non-standard story in this like very early internet, because most of the users were from the US, but we were connecting from all around the world slowly, and that was great. And I think this is coming to current internet, even though we have Zoom calls, we can everyone can see our faces if we don't use filters, and our voices and so on. But again, Bitcoin was created by a pseudonymous person, and we only know his, her, theirs writing style, and that's basically it, and some opinions, and we can read the white paper, we can see the code. So that's the true meritocracy, and I think it's coming back. I think the coolest projects in crypto, and not only in crypto, are pseudonymous, and it's quite interesting because, of course, you need to gain trust, and that is hard if you don't have a reputation to lose. But it also creates a very interesting social dynamic. So, for example, what is different to the network state concept? I was just talking about it with people from DarkFi. So network state has this concept of on-chain history of the network state. You have kind of a census. You can prove who attends a meetup. You can prove on-chain funds and so on. And on the other side of this is this like pure meritocracy, where nothing is seen on chain. There is a decentralized organization where people are voting, but no one sees who voted how. There are only zero knowledge proofs, and you can only see, okay, this suggestion passed, this one didn't, and you don't know who voted how. You don't even know if it was like close, or if it was like 90%, 10%. You just have a mathematical proof that it went according to plan, or to the original setup of the voting mechanism. You don't know who owns how many tokens, and then that removes things like status, because even now, when you look at decentralized organizations, people are voting in a way that resembles the high status people of their community. a founder, like for example in Ethereum, what Vitalik Buterin says is more important than what Juraj says, which should be the case, I have to say, because I don't have a skin in the game in Ethereum that much, but here you don't even know what your heroes vote for, and sometimes you don't even know who they are, and maybe you cannot even connect their handles. So if they don't have like a permanent identity, even though it's pseudonymous, then it creates something very interesting, because you cannot just rely on this status hierarchy and say, okay, I Jakub is smart, I will always vote like him, which is
you shouldn't probably.
Yeah, you told me how you voted in the last election, so you're unfortunately I'm not voting with you. No, I don't vote, so
yeah, I was just like our Twitter discussion I was a bit slow actually these 2 days, so like, but I kind of had the sense that there is this joke that you actually I don't know, either put like an empty ballot or you didn't vote. But I was looking for, maybe there is a slight chance that you have like this one candidate that I missed, some kind of Martin Poliacik or something, who is
I have my candidate. It's myself, and I choose myself. Usually it means reading a book in a bath, or enjoying my life, or doing something actually useful for the future. But anyway, if you want to vote, nothing against you. But so this is interesting. If this type of social dynamic kind of prevails in this crypto economy, then I don't know. I honestly don't know what would be the result. I think it's just an interesting experiment. So.
No, I think there is a way how to square the circle, but I guess there are different notions of it. But like Balaji has this like pseudonymous economy concept, where you have like the pseudonym is like you actually accrue a reputation over time, but it's pseudonymous, so it's not like pure anonymous like 4chan, where you have like a purely disposable identity, and then you do like the zero knowledge proofs, and you can actually kind of like transfer karma to a new pseudonym somehow. That's the point. But I think I mean, your broader point is like that actually this could be like it's like this pseudonymity or anonymity is like collective good. So it's like some kind of parallel society with some kind of filter kind of protects it, like also like with Balaji also mentions like how Monero, if I understand well, it's like it's you are kind of hiding in the crowd, right? So it's like not but you need the crowd to blend in or to hide, so you need like these people to trust. And then the other things are, I guess, about experimentation, like which I mean, I understand your point, and I think that it's somehow through experimentation like some good level of what is the viable level of pseudonymity or even maybe anonymity, or some kind of like people voting that is not kind of attributable to certain people. I mean, it's I think these things are like or notions are interesting and needs to be tested. I don't think it's like it goes like 100% against like this on-chain census or on-chain
you can have proofs, so you can say
have, like zero knowledge proofs, but probably they can be like on a collective level, but they can be still provable, but you don't need but the wealth of individuals can remain kind of like somehow anonymized. If I understand.
There is homomorphic encryption or zero knowledge proofs. The question is if you can go to a sovereign with a zero knowledge proof of on-chain funds, and we are I like this saying by Paul Rosenberg. He says that we live in a space age, technologically in a space age with Bronze Age rulership structures. So we still do petitions where you have to write your name and permanent address and physical signature if you want to ask the state to do something. So I wonder, if you came and you said, oh, we have a network state and we want this from you, and here is 20 pages of binary zero knowledge proofs which can verify that we command, we collectively own this much money, and this is our attendance. I don't know if anyone.
I get it. I think that's maybe just like one of the proofs. But if you created some kind of like building man or some favela fest or something like building man kind of festival, and you would build like a whole quarter of a city, like whole, I don't know, a couple of buildings, and they would be like pleasant and nice, and you would see like some kind of high skilled, high quality people like hanging around there, not causing any trouble, like being like nice. And probably this would be like proof, like like somebody, like like Balaji has this concept of a reverse tornado. So it's like tornado tearing down houses and like taking them away, but imagine like a reverse process. You have some crypto bros or girls, and then suddenly they build like like some street or a couple of houses, some cul-de-sac, in 2 months. So people would be like, okay, this is possible and we want more of these guys, they're bringing business. Probably this would be like the like a nice proof, like just we can build things.
Yeah, definitely. I like to say that we kind of reverse entropy as humans. We create. So normally things turn into chaos and thermal zero, basically, and that's the fate of the universe. But we can temporarily reverse this process and create something. In Paraguay, we have Mennonites, which is a minority. They speak some kind of old Germanic language, and they're very productive. They produce, I think, most of the food in Paraguay. They're very technologically advanced, and there was this case, I think last year, when there was a river, and they had to go around the river to the market, and also with the machines and everything. So they built a bridge over the river, and they didn't ask anyone. They just built a bridge, and it's like a real bridge. It's not from wood. It's like an engineering achievement. It's like a big bridge like we have over Danube. Yeah, I have seen the picture, and it's like a big bridge for cars and for tractors and machinery. And they have done it without asking anyone, illegally, basically. And I was like, oh, okay, so who do you think you are, you guys? You just build a bridge. And like, yes, of course, we needed the bridge across this river, so we built it. Like, what's the big deal? Maybe another example of this in Bratislava is some of the bike paths. The origin. So
I know that these like Meske Zasahy, like these kind of things, just painting on pavements.
So just to explain, so they were trying to lobby the city government to have these bike paths, and they were like, oh no, it's not possible, blah blah blah. So one day at 4 a.m. they just took the paint painted the bike path on the road, and when the maintenance came, after winter they opened the documentation, the architectural documentation, and say, okay, it's a road, but clearly there's also a bike path here, and which is not in the documentation, but reality is reality. Bike path is there, we can see it. So they said, okay, so the documentation is obviously wrong, so they fixed the documentation, which was the thing they wanted to do in the first place, you know. But creating it in reality and then just changing the documentation to match reality sometimes easier. One more thing I wanted to point out, which about this anonymity and voting and meritocracy. What is I think important, at least to discuss, is this unbundling of status. It's the same as unbundling of regulations. So I said with regulations, you need you can pick and choose, and you can say, okay, I want to do business according to this regulation. I want to do my leisure according to different set of regulations. And I think this pseudonymous economy, if you have many identities or not even identities, maybe you just need a token like a skin in the game. Then you can unbundle status, and I think that's quite interesting, because me studying at a good university and having a degree from artificial intelligence doesn't make me a good writer. It doesn't make me a good leader. In another context, it doesn't make me a good person to decide about let's say human resources in a company and so on. So I think we rely on status too much in our society, and I wonder. I don't know the answer to this, but I wonder if these kind of anonymous organizations won't allow us to actually kind of like, if we imagine a person as a number, which is basically the status in the hierarchy, you know, you are the president, you are the CEO of the company, so you can compare people according to just one number, and maybe it's more like a vector, and this vector space mathematically is not always comparable, so you cannot always compare to vectors. So when Jakub is a good dad and whatever, I'm a good writer, it doesn't make either of us better than the other. You know, we're just completely another dimension in the vector space. So maybe if we are creating a collaborative book, maybe my vote should count a little bit more, and maybe if we are organizing an event for children, maybe Jakub's vote should count more. But we kind of don't do this, you know. We say, okay, who is the most important person in the room? So we'll see. I'm hopeful for this.
Yeah, also like just bring it back to the post-COVID recovery. Just like like I think the time it like things change slowly and then suddenly, and I think after COVID, that's where actually this policy paper by Juraj actually I think the governments, they don't really know what they're up to, because it's something like when the old media lost their monopoly power because of Google News. So it's something similar now with remote work becoming like a moral innovation, and with Starlink becoming like the technological innovation. What happened to San Francisco, that actually the tech talent they moved from San Francisco to Miami in like 1 year, and also the spirit and the freshness and everything kind of moved to Miami, and the San Francisco, I don't know, the commercial real estate kind of collapsed there, or is collapsing as we speak. Meaning like some buildings are selling for 80% less than they were valued before COVID in 2019. So this kind of cautionary tale, I mean, maybe not that extreme, maybe not that sudden, but that can happen definitely in Slovakia or other places. And maybe you would have like some winners like Miami, or Dubai, like for, now also Balaji has this concept of longitudinal arbitrage. So basically people can work on a a similar time zone, you know, and you can work from Dubai and cover like loads of places, or from Miami or from Paraguay and cover the whole US. And so I think the governments also, and not just governments, but also cities needs to get serious about it. So just to bring it home, the post-COVID recovery. And so Duke, I let you.
Yeah, it's true what you have said, Jakub. I think those are quite fascinating perspective. Let's guys try to shift our gears to the next topic of longevity and medical tourism. Your insight has been thought-provoking. You're right. I find the concept of medical tourism fascinating, but there are concerns about the ethical implication and access to healthcare for local populations, maybe even in Africa. How can countries ensure a fair and equitable system, but also leverage this opportunity to enhance their recovery?
Yes. So most healthcare systems, especially public healthcare systems, are broken, and they don't work for majority of population. They're just broken differently. So medical tourism allows you to make use of the aspect of the system that is not broken in a different country. So, for example, in Latin America, you can get stem cell treatments quite easily, which are not as easy. You can get them in the US, for example, but there are more limitations, more regulations. Then access to healthcare is different in different countries, and different again cannot be compared easily. So for example, if you have money and you have a very very serious medical condition, then probably the first thing you would do is take a flight to the US. But that means you should have $10 million, which not many people have. So what do people like us, or at least like me, who don't have $10 million, what should we do? Is it fly to Argentina, where healthcare is free? If I can afford a plane ticket and they will let me in? Probably not, because if I go to Argentina, yes, it is free, but I will have to wait 3 years because it's a socialist system and they don't have enough capacity. So so the real question is how to what to do in any particular situation. I don't know which one to criticize and how to offer solutions, but I will tell you my experience. So my experience has been that I'm not a member of or I don't use public insurance. I use private company, which so in Slovakia you have a socialist healthcare system basically. So you can choose some insurance providers. There are, I think, 3 right now. You can somehow choose medical provider, also not super freely, but at least it's constrained by the borders of the country and by the fact that they have or don't have a contract with your insurance company. So that there are limitations, but the major limitation is that the state sets the price and they don't specify what your coverage is. So if I break my knee, I can't say, okay, should I go to a private doctor tomorrow because they will serve me tomorrow, but I pay higher price, but I don't care because I'm insured? Or should I wait for 3 weeks until let's say cheaper doctor or public doctor will see me? So I don't have choice in this. The price is set, and actually I have basically some abstract coverage of healthcare, but they don't say, okay, we will pay for this treatment and not for this treatment, or you know, if we can't find the right doctor for you in 3 days, you can go to a provider that doesn't have a contract with us. I like to compare this, for example, to car insurance. So car insurance is usually not about the insurance company providing you with a service. They provide you with the financial coverage. So I go to any authorized car service, they will fix my car, I get an invoice, I go to my insurance company and I say, okay, this is the invoice. This is the invoice for the service. Please refund me because I'm insured. With healthcare in most parts of the world, it's not financial. You do not have a financial relationship with free market prices with your healthcare provider, but it's somehow, you know, the insurance company somehow abstractly covers you. So what I've seen, so when you move away, you can opt out from the public healthcare system, and you can get a truly, you know, capitalist free market insurance. What is interesting, it is cheaper than public healthcare system for me. It covers me. I have a program which covers me everywhere but the US. So everywhere except USA. I can opt in for USA, but that basically doubles the price. So I said, okay, I'll survive on Switzerland healthcare providers if in case something bad happens to me. So it's cheaper. And it's available to me because I am the person who finds the healthcare provider for. There are some limits on the coverage of on the price of the coverage, but it's up to me to find a provider that will serve me soon in high quality anywhere in the world except of the US. So what that means to me is that it is cheaper for me. It is immediately available because every doctor wants cash. If they get reimbursed by a public health insurance company, they will wait for a few months or years to get the money, and maybe they won't get it. If I pay it out of the pocket and I get reimbursed, they don't care. You know, they fix my knee, they get their money, and I leave, and that's it. And also,
sorry, just to ask,
yes.
this is also available in Slovakia. Like the doctors will agree, and you can pay them.
Yeah. Yes, I will tell you my exact experience. I use also Central European, so not only Slovak but also Czech providers, and it not only works, but it works better. Because if my first words when I call them, I say, hello, my name is Juraj Bednar, I pay cash. So I'm not in the public healthcare system. They always have time for me tomorrow or on Monday or something like that. And if I forget to tell this, they say, oh, okay, can you come in November or something like this? So
yeah, but actually in Thailand, it's quite popular, right? I mean, I watched one guy who is like into electric cars, and he has like seriously ill wife, and they are in Thailand because of that. You know, they're from Australia, but they're in Thailand, which is interesting. And I think India, and even I think in Kenya, the medical tourism is well and alive, and it's because these countries have this tradition of cash-based payments, you know, and especially for non-emergencies, it's quite ethical, and it's like and the emergencies should be covered by some insurance, right? But like for like for non-emergencies, you know, like dentists, usually they provide a high quality service, and they are also there is this tradition of cash payments even in Slovakia with dentists. And of course you can have some combination, but okay, but this is interesting to know that you can use it in.
Yeah. I tell it to all my friends, because the other thing is that you should first of all, insurance is for things that are low probability, high impact. So actually, healthcare insurance is not insurance, because most 90% of the cost of healthcare is spent in the last 3 years of your life. You don't know where it is, but this is how it works. So it's basically you're saving money in a scheme that is called insurance, but you're basically saving money for the last 3 years of life, because normally it's service, a health checkup and whatever, you break a bone and you have some mild condition. So first thing to understand is that you are not actually, like in normal situation, you're not actually spending real money on healthcare. I have tried this. I have some health condition right now, and I can test it out, and I was not actually able to spend a lot of money. I chose a program with 1,000 euros deductible. So first 1,000 euros come out of the pocket. The reason is I don't want to pay for maintenance from insurance, so again, car analogy, I think that people say that all car metaphors are wrong, but I will use it anyway. You need to change oil from time to time. You need to check the brakes, you need to replace the tires. That's life, and it's not insurance. Everyone needs some kind of health care, and not healing, but normal health care. And I realized that even in Slovakia, it is super cheap. It is. I was at a doctor where there were 3 specialists, so doctor, nurse, and then a technician who was doing some kind of medical checkup with machinery, so with capital. I spent 2 hours there, so either with 2 or with 1 person. So let's say 3 man hours of highly qualified people, including quite expensive machinery to test me up, and I paid 40 euros, and this is so around $40. And this is of course you cannot compare it to whatever Thailand, Africa. Prices are different everywhere. But what I want to relate it to is that 90-minute Thai massage is more expensive than this, and they studied, but they didn't study for 6 years at medical school, and the only thing they need is to play calm music, turn off the lights, and put me on a mattress. They don't need machines to so capital. So this is very interesting. People think that healthcare is actually quite expensive, and it can be if you have a serious condition and you need like 24/7 care or something like that. Then yes, that's what you need to cover by insurance. But normal maintenance is actually super cheap, and you can get it if you get it outside of insurance. Then I believe that in many countries you will get a better service than waiting for a provider that is compatible with your insurance program. So back to your question, Duke. You ask if it's ethical and if it's available and inclusive. So I switched from socialist healthcare, which is like equal for all, and paid from basically insurance that is called a tax. I switched to a cheaper service that covers all the world except of the US, not only one country. I get better service. I'm serviced immediately, and I get coverage for the things that you really need insured, you know, not maintenance. And I can pick my providers at will. So I don't know if this is a solution for everyone, but I was trying to calculate how much money would the country save if they basically securitized the healthcare insurance. So basically package people and into cohorts, because it's based on age. That is also an important thing to say, that when you are 70 years old, this will be expensive, but you need to save for that. When you are 20, it's super cheap, because it's like really not really black swan events, but like highly improbable events that you are being insured against. So the country itself would save a lot of money if they use the commercial healthcare insurance. So it's like you cannot walk around it. You know, the systems, the healthcare systems that we have are so ineffective that even the like super profit driven alternative is a lot cheaper than this system. So I don't know. I highly recommend looking for markets and not like, people are quite fearful of markets when it comes to healthcare. You know, say, you know, health is what do they say?
It's a right, not
no.
right, not a product, you know. And
Zdravie,
you're
yeah,
a citizen, you're a citizen, not a
not a
consumer.
product.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But you know, you can live without a healthcare provider most of the time. You can't live without food, and we we don't give a responsibility for feeding us to the state. We go to the supermarket and buy the tomatoes ourselves, you know, from the super capitalist providers. So I don't know, but I think that that this public healthcare system has a problem. And for me, if I had a problem, I would, insured or not, I would definitely fly to either Dubai or Thailand or Panama or Switzerland, and just go to a clinic and try to get it. And again, in most countries, it's cheaper than most people think. You know, we hear horror stories from the US, but
yeah. But I think there is a broader point here, that it's not like maybe even ideological. It's that you know, there are people like, also like, I follow this like YouTuber, he's called Electric Viking, and his wife is sick, you know, and they are from Australia, but they didn't choose the Australian system, but they went to Thailand. So I think the deeper point here is also like this, like what Balaji calls the ascending world and the declining world, you know. So you know, you can have like countries that are on the rise. They might be poorer in terms of GDP, you know, or lower or middle income countries. But they actually have figured out something like better, you know. And of course, there could be some hybrids, like Singapore has like okay, it's like compulsory, but you have your saving accounts. But actually, what is in Slovakia, it's like it's just another name for a tax, you know, because you are not saving. Your health choices don't matter. And what is unethical here, I think, is that okay, the waiting times are unethical. When you, I don't know, have a back pain and you have to wait for like a half a year, it's like, you know, you're living in hell for a half year. How much money would you give for that? And then it's usually also about connections. If you know some doctors, you get preferential treatment. So it's kind of like half socialism here. And I think, and also what is unethical is that actually even the doctors, and you know, you have like willing doctor, willing patient, but even the doctors they are not setting the prices, you know. So it's like the prices are set by the third or fourth or fifth party, you know, controlled by some bureaucrats. And it's kind of I don't know, maybe there is some alternate universe with some AI and something where the system could work better, but you see like even in the most so-called developed countries that maybe Balaji would call declining countries, the situation is getting worse and worse. And the health outcomes, the US is somehow special, like nutcase or case which is like the worst of all of the worlds. They have also a lot of this like socialism because of the prices are not market based like in India or in Kenya or in other places but they are set by other institutions. But there are also some market elements, but it's a lot of rent seeking, so it's like the most expensive.
Yes.
And also their their quality of life, or actually the medium, what is it, I mean the life
Expectancy.
Life expectancy, sorry, it's getting late. Life expectancy actually is dropping for a couple of years already. It has some reasons, maybe the drug overdoses are a contributing factor, but it's quite, anyhow, the US is like a special nutcase, but even other rich countries, they have lots of problems. But you mentioned Switzerland. There is this, I think, this out of pocket that you have to pay, I don't know, 300 francs or something, and only after that. So there are these cash based payments. And I mean, I remember that it's like, I don't know, social democracy was quite against it in Slovakia, all these cash payments. But looking back at it, I think, if they can't provide the better alternative, like in terms of quality and speed and everything, probably actually it's good to learn a lesson from countries like Kenya or India or Thailand, and actually allow for some just like cash payments for non-emergency, like for like the basic repair, change of oil, to use your car analogy.
In India, there's a very interesting company, healthcare provider that is doing certain kind of heart surgeries. I don't know if you have heard about it. They have the medical outcomes of like the good clinics in the US. So they're like very good quality, very good survival rate. And but they are super cheap, and it's kind of like a McDonald's model. So so you come in, you get a bracelet, and there is like one person does exams of all the incoming patients, like one after another. So everyone does like just one small piece. So it's like a factory model basically. Everything is standardized, and the surgeon does one surgery after another, but they have like every patient already open, already examined, like the documentation of what they should do is right in front of them. So the actually the hard part, that there is like minimization of what could go wrong, and it's this, and everything like aftercare, everything is standardized, and people are being followed up. I don't want to say numbers because I forgot them, but it's a very interesting case of how a medical service that is quite in demand can be cheap, high quality, profitable, and people are traveling for that from many countries. So medical tourism. So something similar in Slovakia is laser eye surgeries. You get a bus of tourists from Austria or from Schwechat airport. They come into the clinic, they get examined, operation, they schedule the health checkup, and it's like this kind of model that is not like a universal hospital that you come and you start talking, or maybe I have, whatever, I have back pain, and they send you from one door to another. But it's like a process that has a strict step by step plan, and that lowers the cost. So
Yeah, and it's probably like a franchise model or something. I'm not sure, but in
Yes,
Mexico,
they're opening more.
yeah, in Mexico, I knew about like some kind of similar franchise, but focused on diabetes treatment. And it's also like very low cost, and actually even in like low income neighborhoods, like and they're able to attract like a lot of capital, because they operate on this like franchise, a kind of very efficient model. So I think, yeah, these kind of models are interesting. Like it could be interesting also for Kenya and other countries, and probably they actually operate in Kenya like as well. So it's like or other places. So yeah, I mean, definitely that's something to look at. Yeah.
One more thing about the healthcare that I always like to mention. I wrote about it in my book, which is unfortunately not in Slovak, so I will it's only in Slovak, so I will tell you. Is luxury. So people are kind of that there was this woman who had one of the first anti-aging gene therapy, which was like super expensive, and she has done it on herself, and people were saying, oh, okay, you rich people, you do your anti-aging therapies. But no, actually, luxury good means it's financing development. Financing development means that they can develop it, test it, and scale it, and the price will go down. So I think almost anyone on this planet probably has better dentist than Napoleon, who was kind of high status and rich guy. And he would be kind of envious if he looked at actually the state of dentistry in year 2023. So I think when there are these luxurious treatments, people do stem cells therapy just because they want to, feel a little bit younger and things like this. It is something to cheer on. Okay, if you can't afford it yet. Okay, these guys are paying for the service to be affordable for everyone sometime down the road. So actually not doing it would be worse because we would get it later or not at all.
Yeah, I think it's like like Tesla Roadster was like very expensive car, but it's always easier to start from the top of the market and then move down than vice versa. So you start like with rich people and Tesla Roadster, and then Tesla S model, then the Model 3, I don't know, and you go and then now you have actually some Chinese actually pickup trucks. It's like, I think it's a Radar R6 or something like that, and it's like it's an electric pickup truck for $20,000, and made by Geely, the company that owns Volvo. And it's quite actually, yeah, I mean, it's crazy cheap, and actually like value for money, which is actually like, I mean, it's cheaper than the IC cars, the internal combustion engine cars. And interestingly about the EU, because I was looking at I don't know, just like I don't know, some Mahindra trucks actually there in Kenya as well, or so like, and I was like, okay, this is like 18,000 euros, like, okay, maybe I could, and and you could pay like in 4 years, so every year you
Yes.
buy, you pay like I don't know, it's like 4,000 something. It was 18,000 something, I don't remember. So I was like, okay, maybe I can buy it, like finance it like this. And then I was writing the dealer, and they're like, oh, sorry, we can't we can't sell these trucks. They're still, the offer is online, but it's like, the EU regulations or something. I was like, oh damn. And then I was like, oh shit, like sorry for swearing here, but like I was like, I can't buy this like cheap Indian truck, and I can't buy this cheap Chinese electric truck, so the Indian one is just like the regular diesel, no, I don't know, blue anything. It's just like the diesel. And I was like, And if you look at, I don't know, I'm probably not gonna buy a truck, but I look at the price of the trucks and they're like double, and so it's like, who would pay this money for this? It's just like, so it's like,
well,
I
they
don't know.
Have another option.
Yeah, you don't. Yeah, no. I mean, probably just to bring the car metaphor again. I think with the healthcare, I think it's kind of similar. You either pay in time, like you are waiting for surgery for a year, and there is this invisible symmetry of people who actually just couldn't make it. They just waited too long. Or you have, I don't know, you pay in some, or the price is invisible, but it's somehow paid. Like for example, I paid for quality as well, or you pay for a medical insurance here in Slovakia also for your crypto if it gets sick. I mentioned before, I tried to do the taxes on crypto just like to test it out, and the next year what kicks in is like you have to also pay the insurance actually for you pay your taxes, but then your insurance bill comes also for your crypto. So it's kind of a bit crazy system. It's just I mean, I think there are better ways how to do it.
Definitely. Also, I think well, I wanted to buy a tuk-tuk in Slovakia, which is actually quite a good thing to travel in the city. It's easier to park.
They're available. They're available in Mombasa, but not in Nairobi.
There are a lot in Mombasa. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, no
but
regulations.
Not in Nairobi, true.
Regulations. Another thing that is luxury first was cell phones. Only the top managers had cell phones. They were big, ugly, and they probably the transmission had to be much farther, so it would like kind of fry your brain. You could actually feel that it was getting hot, because the towers were farther away. Now, when towers are almost all around you, you don't need such a strong signal. So they paid in luxurious, super uncomfortable, and probably not the best service. And now everyone can have this smartphone. Even the 6-year-old Android phones are cheap, and they're good, and they're usable, and everyone can afford them. So that's another example. So even in healthcare, the question is, of course, if it's your life, then you probably want whatever saves your life. But if it's just anti-aging, I'd rather let the rich guys try the therapies, and then I will select the one that actually works and does not kill the rich guy. So that they're not only paying in money, but also in risk, because they're trying other things. But I don't have a good answer for you. Actually,
I think those are great perspective, Uri, and I also like the car insurance metaphor. But let's talk about the parallel polis, parallel societies, and parallel economies. Would you please maybe explain to us these three intriguing concepts you came up with?
Yes. Fortunately, I didn't came up with it because that means that it is not only a concept that is in someone's mind, but people were actually trying it. First, maybe a good explanation would be something that Jakub is also familiar with. Which was the idea of parallel polis or parallel society in communist Czechoslovakia. So I'll give you a super brief history lesson, but I think it's quite telling about this concept. So in 1977, there was this group of dissent of intellectuals who wanted in the time of hardcore communist party rulership, they wanted to make the system a little bit better. So they wrote a charter and a document that they presented with the signatures to the government, which was a one-party government, communist government. It was called Charter 77, Charter 77, and it didn't ask for like a democratic revolution or for the change of the system. Basically, they said that they would kindly ask the government to just respect human rights, to actually follow the laws that are in place, because there were many political trials that were not judged even according to the laws created by this communist regime. So they were making stuff up and like putting people to jail because they made up some fake treason charges and things like that. So it was like a mild, please, our overlords, let's be nicer to us. That's one of the ways how you can try to change the conditions you live in, and to live in a freer society. Unfortunately, it didn't work at all. They kind of went crazy, and there was an anti-charter organized by the government, and like they completely refused, and they didn't take any responsibility for any wrongdoing. It was just what are you talking about? This is the government of the people, and we will do whatever we want to do. So one of the actually main people behind this movement was Václav Benda, and he was thinking, okay, so we are in this situation, we live in this dictatorship. We asked it nicely to change, and it doesn't want to change. So what are our options? What could we actually do to live in a better society? And usually you have like basic options, such as well, you can escape the country, but it's not viable for the majority of the population. You can organize a revolution. A revolution it's a viable strategy. It worked many times. But it has several problems. First of all, it is super difficult. That means also super expensive. But if you don't pay it in money, you need to organize a lot of people. You need to have a critical mass, and it's quite difficult thing to do. Another problem is that revolutions are often violent, and if one of your core values is non-violence, then this is a no-go, and you cannot tell in advance, how they react, and if the response to an attempt at revolution, if it won't be violent, and they knew that they're easily putting people to jail, so violence is definitely not out of the question. Revolution probably not a good idea. Reform didn't work. So he wrote an essay, which you can find in English if you Google. It is called Parallel Polis. Parallel Polis. Polis means it's from Greek, so it's Polis, not police like cops. And it's from Greek word for city. So the city-states were called polis, but in this case, it means a smaller societal unit. So it can be like a village or a society. So parallel society. So his idea was, okay, we cannot change the system. We have tried the reform way. We don't want to do the revolution. So what we can do is we can find a strategy that gives us what we want without actually changing the system. So the strategy is you do what you absolutely must to do, and then you organize a parallel solution. One of the best examples and the easiest to understand is parallel education. So of course, if you don't if you don't,
we lost you.
that will
The sound, yeah.
But you're back.
Yeah.
You're back.
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So the best example is schools. So if you don't send your children to a government school where they will brainwash them with whatever Marxism, Leninism bullshit that they taught in schools, there will be consequences. Usually, they will take your children and put them to foster care or like state system, and you will probably be jailed even because mandatory education is mandatory for a reason. So you send your children to the school, but then you can say, okay, in the evening after everyone comes back from school and people come back from work, let's say 6 p.m. in someone's kitchen, there will be a presentation about whatever Western liberal values for 6 kids that are mature enough not to snitch on the fact that someone is teaching them these, forbidden things. So you comply to the minimal extent that you absolutely have to, and then you create a parallel solution that is better and that is according to your values. So he proposed several pillars. Parallel education was one of them. He had parallel information exchange, which is not as important right now, but it was, I think, one of the keys back then, because they didn't have internet, so they kind of optimized the information network with samizdat and forbidden literature and spreading of information. So before that, the information was spread according to status. So the most important decent, Václav Havel, who later became president, he would get the book first, and then, after he reads it, he gives it to someone with a little bit lower status. So Václav Benda said, no, screw this. The book will be get to the person who will be able to make the most copies in the shortest time, and that is how the information will actually effectively spread. And screw status. If
It's a
Havel,
proof of work. Proof of work, right?
yes, proof of work, definitely. So that was information. Then there was basically parallel religious service, which was also forbidden, kind of tolerated, but with a communist scent, and this was important for them. There was parallel culture, which was definitely not invented by Václav Benda. Czechoslovakia had a very, very lively and vibrant parallel culture, including literature, theater, underground concerts, and all this. So this was already in place. He just listed it as an important aspect of parallel society. And then one of the things that he was kind of afraid of, but he included it, was parallel economy. So most people think that when they hear parallel economy, it is whatever people dealing heroin on the streets. That was not the case back then. The case back then was basically if someone was anti-state and anti-communist back then, the state basically tried to attack them also economically. They wouldn't give them a good job, and parallel economy was basically volunteers giving these people, apples and meat and food, so they can live a little bit better life. But this is crucial, and parallel economies have been very important in many different parallel societies. So parallel economies. So this was an example, and this was like a well-written theory. But parallel societies have been common for ages. What you can see in most cities, there is most large cities, at least, there is a Chinese minority. In larger cities, there is also Chinatown or like a Chinese district, and this is a
In a
sort of
square,
parallel.
yeah.
Yeah, in a square. There is also, this is kind of a concentration of people, and they form a parallel society of sort. So, for example, if two Chinese have a dispute, they will never go to the state court to settle their dispute, and there is a way to handle disputes within the community. So this is also an important aspect, because if you don't want shitty service, and in most countries, I believe the court system is actually one of the worst services that the state provides.
So it's
You
also
look
like
for
in the same example, it can be like the way Muslim also operate. They have like qadi courts whereby they don't go to, for example, the court of appeal or high court. They operate their stuff on their qadi courts. Yeah.
Yeah, and also
Yes.
their finance, and also their kind of like how they send remittances, or they used to have. And they of course they have Islamic finance and these kind of things, but also some kind of like way. Havala, that's the way. That's the word. I forgot. I haven't read
Yes,
about it for 10 years.
That's the financial remittance or transfers network. So yes, that's also very important. So in Chinese communities, you would have something that is called a tong, which is like it would be like a center of the city, where they also provide services for new immigrants that just came to the city, so they can get financing for their new business. They can get just basic things like furniture and so on. They can get the help of lawyers, for example, if they need help with immigration, and so on. So this is a little bit closed parallel community or parallel society that handles things inside, and it is in a way invisible from the outside, from the point of view of the state. So it was, for example, in Slovakia, there was an article that Vietnamese community actually recycled passports. So if someone died, they would take the passport, and with a visa and residency permit, they would give it to someone else who needed the papers, and they would assume their identity, even though they didn't look the age. I don't know how true this is, but so the state usually they have some sort of like a view of the society. They have names and birth certificates and ID cards and parcels, and they need to have a grasp on the society. They need this data. And
Seeing like a state,
yes,
seeing like a state. I haven't read the book, but it's like has everything needs to be legible, and you have to have like a handle,
yes,
like a drawer where you can pick up data on the citizen. And
exactly.
yeah.
I recommend the book, by the way. It is really good. Um, so I think this is this is something that these communities provide. So I just wanted to say it's not something that we made up in our heads. You know, it's something that happens in almost every city of the world day by day. And these are the services that the society provides within the community, within the society. So what is important about this is that there is a clear distinction of who is in the parallel society and who is out. So with the descent in Czechoslovakia, you know, not all the kids could go to this, you know, lecture about liberal democracy in the evening in someone's kitchen. They needed to be vetted in order to, you know, not snitch to the government that this is happening, because it could be a problem. With Chinese minority, I would probably be not invited. I would probably be treated well if I went there, but I would just not be provided the same service as someone who is the member of the community. So there is a clear distinction of in-group and out-group, and this is very important because this distinction makes the society work. Some of the aspects of the society only work when they apply to everyone. So, for example, if you have a way to judge and handle disputes, you need to be able to enforce them, and you don't have usually policemen that will, you know, beat you up and jail you if you don't comply with a court decision. So that means that the entry cost should not be free. What it means, free doesn't necessarily mean money, but it means that you need to spend some effort, for example, and it is better to be in group than out group. So, for example, if in my parallel society I would I don't know, steal, and then there is some kind of local process that actually says, okay, Juraj, you stole, you need to return whatever money back and pay damages, and I would say, oh, whatever, you don't have cops, I don't care. Then the community will clearly say, okay, you are out, and you will not go to the lecture about liberal democracy. We will not help you get visa, and we will not give you financing, and all these things. So these are intertwined, and there should be like a clear distinction of who is in and who is out. What is also good, if these parallel societies can network. So if there's a, let's say, a Chinese immigrant in Bratislava, and they steal and they don't care, and then they move to Prague, then the Chinese community in Prague should already know, okay, be careful, because this guy, you know, steals money, so you know he's out. So this is quite an important distinction. Now, very interesting question. So this is how rules can be applied to everyone within the group because of the value that the group provides. But there is a little bit interesting theory about why this strategy again actually works in relationship to the state. But before I tell you, I would like to tell you something about crypto anarchy and how it relates, because it is better explained on the case of crypto anarchy. Excuse me. So when we started, we were actually coming from the point of view of crypto anarchy. As I said, I was a netizen or member of the internet community quite soon in my life, and I was very interested in this cypherpunk ideology and cypherpunk technologies, encryption, anonymity technologies, electronic cash, and other technologies. And these cypherpunks and these crypto anarchists, they were explaining that there is a software that can actually help you live a life that is more free. And for me, this was fascinating because, you know, okay, I can run a software on my computer, but what does it have to do with my life? And basically, the strategy starts with creating a sort of parallel society on the internet. So you do basically the same thing. You build your pseudonym, which gains reputation within the community. So if you do something stupid, you can create another pseudonym, but then all the energy invested into building the reputation is lost. So this is one of the ways. It's not the only way how you can actually make sure that you're not cheated, because if on the other side of an interaction or a transaction there is some person that you don't know the identity of, then this is a question, because otherwise it can be just a scammer on the other side. So so how do you know if the person on the other side is actually legit? One of the strategies is that both sides in a trade they prepay a fine. So that's an escrow contract. For example, on BISC, which is a peer-to-peer Bitcoin to fiat marketplace, both sides have to actually lock in money that are worth the same amount or more than the value of transaction. And if anyone cheats, they will just lose their deposit, so they don't gain anything. And this way you can trade with a totally anonymous party, because the damage and the fine is prepaid. But back to how does it actually increase my liberty? So that relates to seeing like the state. In most philosophies that try to change the society, the political landscape in any way, you are trying to persuade the mainstream society somehow to change the rules by which they operate. That is totally different to crypto anarchy, which doesn't try to change the mainstream society. It tries to build a parallel society. So how does it work? When two parties or more parties, but let's get an example, or let's do an example of two. When two parties are in conflict, from the theory of conflicts, this is military theory, both sides are doing a loop of they observe what is happening. The loop is called OODA loop. So there are two O's, DA. So the first part is observe. Okay, for example, there is a Russian tank. I can see a Russian tank. That's just the observation. That's the first part. Then you need to orient yourself. Okay, what does it mean? What is happening? Is the Russian tank coming towards me? Does it want to shoot me, or it will shoot at my enemy, or something like that? So you orient yourself and you see, okay, this Russian tank is going towards me, so I need to do something. So after orient, which is the second O, you do the you make a decision. You decide, okay, I give up, or I run, or I shoot back, or you decide. So the next part is decision, and then you act. You do what you decided to. And both sides, the Russian tank is actually doing the same thing. You know, they are observing the environment. They need to orient themselves. They need to know where they're going. They need to decide what they're going to do, and they do it. And both sides are doing this in a loop until someone wins the conflict. So most reform theory, most like
reform movements from communists to anarcho-syndicalists. Everyone tries to change the rules, how the society decides. So they focus on the D, or they try to stop the other side from acting, or they try to act themselves. So most of what you can, of all the movements that are trying to change the society, they focus on the last two parts of the OODA loop. Crypto anarchy is different because it tries to prevent the conflict happening in the first place, and that is why it focuses on the observe and orient part. So I'll give you an example from Europe. There is especially in Ukraine and Russia. There are these new type of drug dealers that are called the drop gangs, and what they do is you interact with some Telegram bot. You say, okay, I want whatever 5 grams of marijuana, and I am in this part of Moscow, let's say. They say, okay, we can deliver weed to this part of Moscow. This is how you handle payment. That can be cryptocurrency, or that can be you just giving it to some random person. And they will not bring you the weed. They will tell you, go to this park under the third bench from the entrance. There is a box that is taped below the bench. Untape it, take it, and leave. There's your weed. So what happened? So if you were thinking like a person who wanted to reform, you would say, okay, I want to reform the law. So I would try to change the way that the state decides about someone buying 5 grams of marijuana, or you would try to prevent them from acting. You know, you could have a gun, you know, you can run away, and so on. If you do it like these drop gangs do, it's not a recommendation. It's just a good illustration of how it works.
Observation.
Observation. They make sure that the state agents cannot even decide, because they never observe the seller. The transaction already happened before. Like if I was a cop that is trying to go after the dealer, there is no dealer, you know, it's already taped in there when I got the coordinates. So they would most probably not be able to observe, and if they were, they would not be able to orient themselves, and they would not be able to understand what actually happened, because a guy taping a bag of wheat on a bench is a way different crime than selling wheat, but the financial part of the transaction happened with someone else or completely differently. So they couldn't actually make the case. So back to crypto anarchy, because this is not about dealing marijuana. Crypto anarchy basically allows you to move your activity into a realm which is anonymous, encrypted, and it's unobservable. So if you are seeing like the state, Jakub was mentioning a good book by James Scott, I believe, is the name of the author. What you do is you don't allow the state to see what is happening. So we were kind of thinking about these ideas of crypto anarchy. So crypto anarchy has the word anarchy, but it is not something that crypto anarchist movement wants to achieve for the mainstream society. So it's not a reform. We don't care if there is a state around us. We accept that most people actually want the state, and that they they are afraid of anarchy, you know. So it's not about, you know, doing having a revolution or anything like that. It is a strategy how to decouple or how to form this kind of parallel society. First of all, in the virtual space, and then we realized, okay, but this is kind of very similar idea to what this Václav Benda had with Parallel Polis. So we kind of connected it back to our Czechoslovak history and turned it into this complex idea, because we are physical people, you know, chatting online. Nice, we can interact, we can talk now, but we still are physical beings, and we still have physical needs such as healthcare and you know, love and making kids and all the other things. So
find your mate in the network state.
yeah. Crowdfund it. Yeah. Then do a DAO voting for the provider of the genetic information, and yeah. So yeah.
No, sorry, go on. That was just like find your mate in the network state. That was like one of the just like some kind of ideas or mottos, you know, or framings for the, like, you know, they, like during our meetups, you know, every other weekend there was another reframing of the network state. So it was like this was like one kind of motto or a kind of a half joke there. So yeah, but it's also important, right? The physical is important, but digital can be, it's maybe yeah, you can start in the cloud, and then it's like cloud first, land last, but not land never, as I mean Balaji says. So.
Yeah, it's exactly like that. Like a lot of our lives are digital. We are talking in a digital realm, so they're now connected, and it is good to have a strategy that combines both of these. So when we look with this optic of the OODA loop at the strategy of Parallel Polis, it's the same thing. You know, if no one knows that there's no one observes that there is a lecture about liberal democracy in someone's kitchen, no problem. You know, no one goes to jail. If they see that there is a meetup of some people, but they don't understand what is going on, okay, it's friends having a good time in someone's kitchen, and again, no problem. So then there is a then another part of the strategy is you know, to have this kind of in-group that provides value to the people. That means that no one will snitch, because then they will lose this value that they already invested in being part of this group, and it should have direct benefits, including economic benefits. So that is why we encourage people doing business together, for example, because that's a good way to ensure that everyone benefits from being a member of this parallel society. So what is interesting about this is, of course, the criticism was that we started this Parallel Polis, which has which is a building in Prague, which we painted black, and on top of it is written Institute of Crypto Anarchy, and one of the criticism is, yeah, you're privileged, you can have a building in a good part of Prague, and you know, play you know, pretend that you are building this parallel society. But what about people in North Korea? You know, they would be killed in 10 seconds if they even attempted to do this. And it's true, and it is one of the good measures of freedom of society is how well it tolerates parallel societies. it doesn't have to be this kind. It can be, minorities and other kinds of parallel societies. So it's a good measure. So yes, this would definitely not work in North Korea, but also you can adjust. So I hope, I don't know, but I hope that there are parallel societies in North Korea, but they just look differently. They don't have a building. Maybe they are more secretive. Maybe the units of the society are smaller. Maybe you can trust 3 people and not 100 people. But this strategy, if you apply it and if you understand how it works, don't be observed. If you are observed, don't allow your counterparty to understand what is going on. Have a strong skin in the game with the in-group, out-group distinction. And if you are using technologies, use them in a private way, because the states want to see, they want to observe. And if you limit the way that your opponent sees you, then the strategy might work. So nothing is guaranteed, of course, but this is like a short intro how I view these parallel societies and how it relates to crypto anarchy.
Yeah, maybe I would just add also, like, this thing as a state, there could be also a moral critique there. It's just like that the state wants to see everyone legible. You can imagine like a nice kind of complex forest versus, let's say, the state-run forest that is like as a kind of like a park. So it's like imagine
Centrally
like a
planned.
Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
not even just like a national park, because you can have like some like a rainforest kind of a national park, but like imagine just like a city park, or let's say so like the state kind of like sees people as a number, or like the state name, and it's kind of like just like very it's basically the critique, or maybe how Balaji would put it, that the state is not a smart regulator compared to Uber. Like, I don't know, it's like a taxi medallion in New York or in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to Uber, the Uber can track drivers like every second, or and gives star ratings, and the taxi medallion does inspection once a year. So the moral criticism here is that the state, or even maybe like the old establishment, they are doing like they're seeing as a state, but we have a better alternative that could be used by parallel societies, but that is used also like by companies as Uber. And for example, so it's like the not seeing as a state, but learning as a machine. So for example, like you can use AI to actually make like better kind of to maybe distinguish or make better regulations in the market. Like basically you want to ban bad actors, as you mentioned, that if there is someone who is stealing, let's say in some kind of parallel societies in Bratislava, it would be like good to for the people in Prague to kind of know or get the message, get the memo that the person is not trustworthy. And then you want to also maybe do some kind of like not star rating, or some kind of like just like karma or something for the members, or some kind of karma economy, or how reliable their services are. But it's okay, it's just like some but I wanted to just like this moral justification that actually seeing as a state is not enough. I think that's like always good to start from there, because maybe it wasn't, I don't know, maybe it was like okay in the 1950s when there was like this big centralization also, as Balaji says, but like you had also high the trust in the society, at least in the West, was like higher. If you look at, I don't know, small countries like the Scandinavian countries, and they had like this, I don't know, public services, but also they were actually I don't know, they had this tradition of these folk schools, like going back like 100 something years, and so, and also like, they were quite like unified societies, and not fractured, and so but okay, maybe centralization has worked in some kind of smaller scales and in different periods of times. Probably it could work also with AI, I don't know. It's just like on a bigger scales than it's working now. But like I think, yeah, it's just I think the Uber versus taxi medallion is maybe a good because Uber, and you mentioned it also in that your chapter of the book, but Uber is also kind of, they started kind of like a parallel society, right? Like they did the innovation in regulation, like Uber and Airbnb. They definitely they definitely did some punk kind of moves there.
Yeah, it's the same with Skype. They say that if Skype asked the Estonian, they were started in Estonia, if they asked the Estonian telecommunication bureau of how they should do internet calls, they would have not started until today because there was no decision. So it's better to ask for forgiveness. What is one thing that relates to this is that basically the state has a very simplified way how to simplified a particular way how they provide their services, and that is basically a rule-based approach. So they make up a set of rules. They need the observations to see if someone is breaking the rules. It can be, someone telling on you, or they can see it directly. But there is a direct relationship between privacy and the rules and the enforceability of the rules. So it's not like these privacy activists, they say, oh, I don't know, you should not know how I look naked or something like that. And it's kind of like a discussion that is not for many people. They don't get the connection of why it matters to have privacy, because if you don't have privacy, then basically all the rules can be automatically enforced. And about that, what is interesting, first of all, we are not robots, so we cannot be following, thousands of rules. It just doesn't make sense. We are humans. There needs to be this human aspect, which is more continuous and not strictly rule based. We are not programs. We work a little bit differently. We are emotional and so on. So this doesn't apply very well on us. That's why I say we live in a age of space technologies and Bronze Age rulership, because that's how it worked. And from Crypto Anarchy, what is also interesting, what people could take away from this is that there are many more ways how you can get good results than rules. So as I said, prepaid fines. Okay, you don't need identity if everyone has paid the fine in advance, and if they break the contract, you don't need to know that Jakub is on the other side of the contract, because he already paid the fine, and if he doesn't fulfill the contract, then he will automatically pay the fine, and I don't need to know his name. There are reputation-based systems such as Uber, as Jakub mentioned. So in Crypto Anarchy, there are many more ways how you can actually get good results in society, in human relationships. Then this is the set of rules. This is the judge that will decide, and then there are these guys with guns that will put someone in jail if they don't comply. This is an old system, and in many aspects of our society, this old system is kind of like a brute force, non-smart regulation. But in many aspects of life, you don't even need regulation. You just need to set up the incentives in a good way. So the privacy aspect, if you say I don't want to be observed, is also future-proof, because it happens quite often that governments change, the otherwise good rules change to really bad rules, and yeah, you probably didn't want to be in a database marked as a Jew during the leadership of Hitler. So it is future-proof. You know, everyone says, okay, we have, for example, we have internet censorship right now in Slovakia. And everyone says it doesn't matter, because you know, the agency that that says what is censored is good. You know, we voted for them. There is this whole democratic process, and I always say, okay, what about after the next elections? You know, how do you know that these guys won't be crazy and they won't ban whatever elementary school biology because they're nuts, or I don't know. So so this observability or non-observability privacy, or the ability to selectively reveal yourself, ties directly to the rule-based society, which I think is kind of obsolete in many ways. Maybe for some things we cannot go without it, but I think in most cases this is actually obsolete. And it is like not being able to selectively reveal ourselves is very dangerous, and it's not definitely not future-proof. So so even if you don't become crypto anarchist after this monologue of mine, which sorry for that, I think this is a key aspect to understand how it relates to rules, to enforcement of rules, and to our liberty, not only now but also in the future.
So it's like a rule of code is maybe better than rule of law in some ways, but also pseudonymity is important, because the state is like hoovering all this data, collecting all this data, but they can't secure it, so they are constantly hacked, and then basically then the criminals get the your data, let's say, on your banking balances and or your whereabouts, and they can then create some compromise on you, and this and that, and it actually happens, and it will happen more and more because of yeah, I mean, there is less qualified people are some coders who coded all these like old legacy systems in that the state is using. Still, they are being retired, and there is less and less people who are like a high skill, high quality, willing to go to work for government. So yeah, I mean, so therefore it's just starting with this moral critique or moral justification why actually it's privacy over KYC, as Balaji would put it
Yes.
quickly. I think that's important. Maybe just with Duke, we just to just I realize now like when you were talking about parallel societies, that we worked with Sote Hub. Like I was a co-founder with another friend, David Ogiga from Kenya, and Duke was working like with us, and we know each other for many years. But we are also kind of like a couple of years, but we were still not like we are also like having another project that wants to do something that we did with so-called virtual companies or training companies. But we want to somehow connect it with crypto or with Web3. But the point is that these virtual companies, it's basically also parallel societies, somewhere between like parallel education and parallel economy, because there, you know, it's like it's a method. There are various methodologies like junior achievement or practice enterprises network and junior enterprises, like at least three like global methodologies. But the basic point is that they are used for vocational education, you know, so it's like they don't follow all the rules. Like some methodologies try to follow the local rules, some are like global, you know, like junior achievement is more global, but it's definitely a parallel kind of system, because you have like kids trying to do their business, you know, it's like they have their like student company, and the student company is using some, let's say, token money, but is also doing some like trades with real money and stuff, but they, you know, they have like their own rules, but it's for educational purposes only. And we would like to connect it with Web3 or crypto, and but we are a bit slow. But also because we feel like this could be like one of the hacks, how to get more people into crypto, you know, through like vocational education and this kind of methodology. So it's just like now I connected it with Parallel Society.
We have been doing this in well, not this, but like virtual companies in Parallel Polis in Bratislava. So basically, what we were doing is that there were many activities that were done by some members of the community, but not all the community, and we needed kind of these instant companies that could, you know, they could last a week. So I'll give you an example. You want to organize a Bitcoin meetup. That's just a normal event that has some costs, and there is a cafeteria involved because people need catering. There is rent involved and technology involved, so you need to kind of rent the room and maybe the projector and make a recording. Then you need tickets, you need a speaker, you need marketing, because you need to tell people that there's a meetup. So suddenly you have something that is organized maybe by 10 people, and excuse me, and it happens on Friday, you know, and after Friday you want to see, okay, did we get a good feedback, meaning did we make a profit or something is wrong, you know, maybe the rent was too expensive, maybe the marketing wasn't too good, and so on. So what we created is this virtual company that had a budget, and they agreed, okay, this is how much we need to pay for the cafeteria, for the room, then we need to pay some money to the speaker, probably a percentage of the profit. Then also the people doing marketing, they can also be paid as a percentage of profit, so they're motivated. And you create this super fast and super small crypto virtual company that has a legal entity of the non-profit itself. And what is nice is you don't need voting within the community for use of the space, because from the community at large, it's, you know, someone renting a room and renting a cafeteria. So the entrepreneurs are actually the people who are doing this micro event, and they can, and it's not play money, it's real money. You know, people need to buy tickets, and you see if you have a profit or loss, or if you can improve something with the next meetup. The next meetup can be with different people. At least the speaker will be different usually. And you can have these micro companies within the framework for many things. Another thing we did is there was virtual reality, like this new form was just starting. We wanted to buy Oculus Quest, and we wanted a space in Parallel Polis, in Bratislava, where people could play with it. But then, you know, some members of the community said, you know, this is stupid. I don't want to pay for some whatever Facebook devices, and, you know, it won't work. So they didn't want to risk it. So basically, you create a micro crowdfunding. Everyone gets their share based on how much they contributed. That's the share of the profit. And you again create this. Okay, you can see, did we actually raise enough money to buy the device. If that's the case, if we actually got the device, then we can set prices, we can experiment with them. But it involves only those people that wanted to try this micro business, micro enterprise. What is nice is that on crypto, we did it only on Bitcoin, not even tokens. It's you can do whatever multi-sig, or you have an Excel with accounting. You can even do it on fiat if you want, but Bitcoin is nice and transparent in this case. But what is nice about this is that if you don't have the framework, if you don't have the whatever non-profit organization, this is almost impossible, because even registering a company, costs money and takes whatever 2 months. So in this case, the Parallel Society can provide the interaction with the state, because you cannot make money just by random coalition on chain of a multi-sig wallet. That's probably not a good idea. Maybe it is, but you could see it even during the pandemic. Maybe you remember there was a crowdfunding campaign in Slovakia for some I think face mask, respirators, and some basic stuff. We were printing the shield for the doctors and things like that. And if you look at the crowdfunding campaign, they used a completely different company that already had a bank account. Otherwise, they would not be able to do it. So someone said, okay, this is a company that I started few months ago. We can use it. It's empty, and it has bank account. But if you wanted to start today, you say, okay, I want to try this. You can't do it on fiat. Even opening a bank account is difficult, and you already need a legal entity, and this takes months, especially during the pandemic, where when everything is closed. So, but with crypto, I'll give you another example, which was a super micro crowdfunding campaign in Parallel Polis in Prague. There was a member of the community, and she wanted a dog. So we said, okay, she wants a dog. She doesn't have money for it. Let's see if other people think it's a good idea. So here's the address. And when this address has 0.001 Bitcoin, or however much it costed, we are buying the dog. And it took us 3 hours, and in half a day she got a dog. So yes, these kind of virtual companies, virtual activities, they allow for this fast-paced entrepreneurship, experimentation, crowdfunding campaigns, and human cooperation that is simply not possible in the fiat world. It would be so slow and so whatever. There are so many barriers to actually do anything in this world that one of the things that Parallel Society can provide is actually this kind of legal framework for low risk activities, at least. Of course, you cannot take a loan, and or for some things you need a little bit more than just a shell company that can do anything, but it's quite useful. And within the community, you have these dispute resolution rules and things already in place. So you really focus on what you are building. You don't need to say, okay, so if the barista says that they will come to the event and they just chill out and don't come, what would happen? We already know how we would handle the situation. Not necessarily the result, but what is the process of saying, okay, someone broke a contract within the community. So having this kind of let's say, processes within the community and already set up, and this drive for these virtual micro enterprises is quite useful, and for me it was a very valuable experience.
So it's like a pop-up restaurant and a pop-up
Yeah,
company, pop-up company,
Yes,
special
yes.
purpose vehicle for a dog, right? Like
Yes, yes.
for buying a dog. That's nice. Yeah. Okay. So maybe Duke, you want to like let's dive into the last topic kind of shortly, and we can wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's talk about the topic of lunar punk. That is, this term has gained popularity recently, and we get to hear your thoughts on it, Juraj. What exactly does lunar punk mean, and how does it relate to the world of cryptocurrency?
Yes, sure. So I don't know. I think it comes from an article, or developed idea of lunar punk comes from an article by Rachel Rose O'Leary. She described these dynamics of lunar punk in these crypto projects. So first, let's define it by contrasting it to solarpunk. So solarpunk is this idea that is prevalent mainly in Ethereum community, and it's a very positive outlook of the world, which says, okay, now we have this coordination mechanism, money, we can do voting, we can do crowdfunding, and we can actually achieve many good things in the world. So if you read or look at some solarpunk images, it is very there's a lot of light, so it's sunny, and it has like interaction between nature and humans. So often these are buildings that are covered with plants, and there's some kind of CO2 removal, solar panels, and this cooperation creates the flourishing, and it's all transparent. All the cooperation is transparent. So Ethereum has a super transparent chain, so you can basically see anything. If you follow a trader, you can see all their trades. It's all written there. There's no obscurity. So this relates to, again, seeing like the state. Everything is seen by everyone, and that includes the state. So that's how it ties a little bit to crypto anarchy. But the main problem is that, of course, I want people to do these things. The problem is that usually when politicians see at other people actually solving problems, they don't like it, because they're the providers of the good and great sunny tomorrows. So they often get attacked. They say, okay, you cannot provide financial services to the unbanked. I know that we know as a political class that they are unbanked, but you need to follow our rules first, and if the rules are wrong, you need to convince us to change the rules, and so on. So the response of normal people is great. We will have these great things, and we will be, we will have nice relation to the nature. Everything will be ecological, and we are building something that is actually nice and that we would like to use. But the reaction of politicians, of course, usually is no, you cannot do it because we are the ones that should provide these services, and you are kind of taking our job. And then we cannot get votes if just some random people on internet decide to actually do the job for us. So lunar punk has another kind of imagery. It is also positive, so the result is good. But what they say is that maybe it's not such a good idea to do it completely transparently. Maybe let's not include people who don't want to be included. So let's include people who have skin in the game. Let's be more private. Let's you know, if there's a nice building that has this whatever nice relationship to the nature and solar panels, maybe let's consult it with people who actually want to live in that building and not the whole society and the whole blockchain. But so this lunar punk imagery is dark in a sense of being hidden from the view of everyone, but not dark in a sense of negative or something like that. But where this distinction shines, pun intended, is what happens when the mainstream society or the political class, when they actually attack something like that. So we could see this in the case of Tornado Cash. Tornado Cash was a provider of privacy, of let's say mixing service on Ethereum blockchain, and it was attacked by the state. So what happens is that Tornado Cash wasn't actually very resilient against this attack. For example, the lead developers were known by the state name, so they could assign a physical body, and only physical bodies can be put into jail. So now they have some kind of problems. So it creates this kind of dynamic.
Sorry, just to stop there. I think they were jailed without the trial, right? Or held in Netherlands, like one of the either founder or developer, right?
Yes.
So it was like kind of
but
strange.
there will be a trial, but it's kind of common also in Slovakia. You know, you first jail people for 5 years until the court proceeds, and then they say sorry, not enough evidence, you can now go after 5 years. So it's not a good trend. I think bad people should be maybe in jail or at least pay damages, but what is happening now is jailing before the court makes the decision, and I don't like this trend in society. So, but yes, but what happens in the kind of like wider economy is that Tornado Cash was used by some people who wanted more privacy. Not all of these people were good people. There is a suspicion that there was like a North Korean ransomware group or hacking group also getting privacy through this technology. But there were many other people who were just trying to get more privacy. And what happens is that after a successful attack on a project like this, the project dies. Didn't die fully, but we can say that no one sane would actually put money into Tornado Cash because it would basically blacklist their coins. So all the users that want privacy and that would normally use Tornado Cash, they had to move to other projects that were not successfully attacked by the state. So normally on the market, you have a very cruel and direct selection mechanism, which is the profit and loss statement. And if you are constantly making a loss, you will go bankrupt, and that means your customers will move to someone who can actually create a sustainable equals profitable, in this case, company. So this is what normally happens on the market. This solar punk, lunar punk dichotomy basically says that only projects that can survive the attack against the state attack against them can become and stay profitable, because if they successfully attack you, you go out of business. So there is additional selection mechanism, not only being able to provide some sort of cash flow profit, but there is another mechanism that actually makes the resilient projects better and more profitable over time. So basically, if you are a good project, for example, Monero was not successfully attacked by the state yet. That means that if you need a way to do a private financial transaction, then all users of Tornado Cash will move to a project like Monero. So this property of being
sorry, what about Zcash? I mean, I just like I haven't heard about it like for many years. I hold like a couple of coins back in the days, like Monero, Zcash. I don't know, but yeah.
I don't pick the winners, the attackers.
Okay, but they still work,
but,
right?
Yes.
Okay.
The anonymity set is not that high because they also have a transparent mode, and not many people actually mix it, as last time I've heard. So, but I don't follow it closely. But basically, the idea is that this Hayekian, maybe not Hayekian, but if you look at the economy from or the market, the providers of the on the market, from the sense of creative destruction, actually companies going bankrupt is good for the market and for customers, because that means that better projects will thrive, and the whole ecosystem gets better. This solar punk, lunar punk dichotomy basically just adds one more thing, that better in this case means survives the attack of the state, because they will do it because you try to do their job but better, and that means this is not like a super new thing, but what not many people get is the consequence of this is if the ecosystem itself is anti-fragile, that means that people don't have to fear regulation, because more regulation equals more attacks, because regulation is basically banning things that were not banned before. That, everything that is not forbidden is allowed in Western type democracies. So if someone introduces a new regulation, it means more things will be forbidden. And that means that projects that will survive and services that will survive are those services that are resilient against this type of state banning. So if you talk to people in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrency, one of the first things that every person who is new to this world says, okay, what if the government bans it? And that's always like, I don't know how many times you had this conversation, for me many times, but it took me quite a while to realize that is the best thing, because that filters out the projects that actually don't care about being banned. I don't know if it's Bitcoin, I don't know if it's Monero, but that means that this new world, this new crypto and economy will become more independent from the state, and will attract the users of the failed projects. So a good strategy would be actually to invite the regulation and invite the attacks. Please do the security audit of our consensus mechanism. Please attack the proof of stake and proof of work, because we want to know if it survives the attack, and if it does not, we want to use something else, something that will survive the attack. So so it's a very weird realization, because you understand that actually any type of attack on the system makes it better, and that's a tough job for
It's
anyone
yeah,
who
it's
wants to do
very
it.
yeah. That was quite shocking to me when I read it. I mean, but quite in a good way. That's it's kind of Nietzschean, you know. Like I don't know, Alexander Bard. We Duke had it and on podcast
Oh, I love him.
twice.
He's great.
Yeah, yeah. He actually mentioned that he's like a bit old school. Of course, he's like I mean, we love him, and he's also very frank, so we can be frank. He's a bit older, so he's like kind of he was attacking Monero, you know, like but the Monero can't exist because I don't know, the state will ban it after some time. But he would actually love this solar punk versus lunar punk distinction, because he likes this like Nietzschean kind of things, and the solar punk, as you describe it, it's kind of platonic, and he hates these like platonic kind of things, like you know, like just because he kind of perceives that it's kind of like also a bit totalitarian, you know. Yeah, like it's too
Yes.
transparent. You want people to, I don't know, live in the pods and eat the bugs. So, you know, the
Yes.
meme goes, the
Yes.
Klaus Schwab meme. Yeah. So it's kind of yeah. I mean, of course, maybe you can have some productive Hegelian syntheses between these things, or some pragmatic ones, but it's definitely it's funny. You know? It's kind of, you are kind of inviting like some kind of workout. It's like proof of workout or something, like please attack us. But it's also similar to like the Peter Thiel, his thesis about like the monopoly is good, actually, you know, because it kind of, at least in my head, it kind of connects to this. I mean, you are inviting competition, but you are also kind of inviting regulation. So it kind of eliminates the weaker players, and then you kind of you could provide, you could be like 0 to 1, you know. You can like achieve kind of monopoly, let's say for Monero or Bitcoin, because it, I don't know, it's just like, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of connected it. And I can even connect it with wokeism as some kind of like a shit filter, you know, like a shit test. It's like, I think that's the term that actually Alexander Bard would use as well. It's, you know, like it's like some older women, they sometimes, when you have like some new colleague, we had the situation, you have a new boss, and he's getting shit tested by these older women, you know, like who are working there 20 years, like they're giving him lots of shit, you know, like I don't know, it's just like talking talking badly about him even in front of him, you know. So it's just like, but when you pass the test, then you can be the boss, you know. Kind of, you know, it kind of eliminates the weaker players. So I think it's interesting to observe this kind of dynamics. So yeah, very very cool. I mean, a lot of thought-provoking things actually here with lunar punk.
Yeah.
One thing I would like to add is that both of these are actually kind of like archetypal examples. So I'm not saying that Ethereum people are stupid at all, you know. Like there is a little bit of naivety in the community, but also many of them understand that this is a problem. Another thing is that it's transparent, but it's not centralizing. So they enjoy like many different projects and experimenting with solutions, like even probably maybe more than Bitcoiners or Monero people. So I just want to make clear that it's kind of like an extreme archetypal example, like how would you know put it in a picture, or like write a Wikipedia entry of it. But of course projects and humans are complex. And I want to recommend one more thing. The article that I mentioned by Rachel was turned into a very good video, which is called Lunar Punk and the Dark Side of the Cycle. You can find it on YouTube. I think it was made by Rect News, if I'm not mistaken. And it explains the concept visually with animations, and it's her reading the article. So it's a really nice primer, and it's much better than my my monologue. So go check it out. It's one of the best videos I have seen this year and last year. So I highly recommend checking it out.
Sorry, what's the name again? Just maybe
Lunar Punk and the Dark Side of the Cycle.
Ah, nice. Okay, because of the bear market,
Yes.
and invites the regulation. The bear market invites. Okay, cool. And yeah, now I forgot the yeah. But anyhow, yeah. But we are polynomists here, at least, like with Dukes. Of course, we recognize like these kind of maybe weaknesses in the Ethereum people. We here we like also Solana, but for these educational purposes mostly, which maybe you would disagree with strongly. I don't know, but like we are, But
I like in how many things it can break apart. So
okay,
it's very
okay.
educational.
After FTX, it was like a bit, yeah, it had some kind of blow. But we, of course, as also Balaji says, we are all Bitcoin maximalists now. So, but we did many things with Duke, also with Bitcoin, like getting some people in like Bitcoin Lightning. We tried some things on Solana. We like it because we are cheap, So it's like we don't like the high fees of Ethereum. So it's just like, because for us it's just for educational purposes only. So we just learn we learn cheaply,
Only testnet coins, of course, because mainnet coins are taxable. So please don't use mainnets. It's very dangerous and can mean tax liabilities.
Sorry, go on.
Yeah, maybe because you mentioned about the Bitcoin, I'd like to close up or wrap up this conversation with some thought from you, right, on Balaji BitSignal bet and hyper Bitcoinization, and maybe you can tell your reason why you don't care that much if Bitcoin will be adopted by big banks and the financial institution.
Yeah, I think Bitcoin is for the people who find value in it, and it's the case for anything in the world. So, I think Bitcoin solves a particular set of problems, which is, of course, the problem of creating fake units of account, also called monetary inflation or money printing. So that's one of the things that is solved by Bitcoin. And I think another set of things is state attacks. So excessive taxation, confiscation, freezing of assets, and then things like extortion and so on. Also capital controls. So if you look at all these things combined, you could say it is, in a sense, a product that is an insurance against the failure of the state financial system or the fiat system. So not everyone needs this, and it's not because I would think that the state financial system will not fall, but not many people can afford it, or not all people can afford it. Not all people actually trust it yet. So I don't think it's wise to kind of push it on people who don't feel value about it and would even be scared about it. So my goal to adoption is basically talking to people who are interested in solving one of these problems that I mentioned, and then explaining them how Bitcoin can help them in this case. But it's not for everyone yet, and I don't think we should push it on people, because for an example for me would be El Salvador. I don't think that was done well. It's an experiment of forced tender. It's actually written in the law that if you are a merchant you have to accept Bitcoin. It's not, we allow you to, and you decide what is best for you. No, if you are a merchant, you have to take Bitcoin. They provide you a service that will hedge the price in USD if you want, but there's no way around it. And now imagine that you are someone who says, okay, I don't even trust the digital, I want the paper with that American president. And I don't think it's government's business to tell people what should they accept and what kind of money should they use. So if it's not government business, it's certainly not my business. And I think we should serve people rather than convert them like we are. Well, I'm not sure if we are not, but we should not be a religion that has a KPI of how many people we convert. I don't think it's wise to approach it. I think that Bitcoiners should be proud and happy about the fact that they chose it and they have a reason and they understand what they're doing. So for me, the KPI is if it actually solves these problems, not how many people adopt it, but if it actually saves you from the failure of the mainstream fiat financial system. I hope it won't happen with Balaji and BitSignal. I'm not so sure. Like I've been watching, of course, the failure of the banks and of course the inflation, and even in Europe, Balaji is not talking about this that much, but like what European Central Bank is doing with the targeted long-term refinancing operation program, which is basically printing money and giving it to corporations for bullshit projects with negative interest rates. That's 300 billion euros printed and given to corporations, so they recycle paper and whatever, use less electricity or less fossil fuels or something like that. So I think we have a problem. I don't know if Bitcoin will solve it for me, so I should not push it to people who don't believe it. So my KPI is not mainstream adoption. I think only people who want to use Bitcoin should use Bitcoin.
So you are more like a Zoroastrian there, like it's like they're okay. Also, Alexander Bard is one. He's also Zoroastrian, but they're like like
no, he invented his own religion.
I think so. Yeah, syntheism, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
I mean, that's like the AI kind of god. But it's just like a nice thought experiment as well.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is that there are like 100,000 all around the world. They're quite small religion, but like they own like half of wealth of India. Like the Parsis, like they're the Indian Zoroastrian. So there are like few, but they don't push their religion onto others, but they're quite wealthy, so maybe that's like your model. Probably there could be some middle way as well, like to I don't know, to grow also in population, but maybe not push it onto others like that much.
Well, I'm talking and writing books about it and so on, so I definitely want people to be able to learn if that's what they want and if they can see value in it. So first they need to be interested, then they need to understand it. So like I'm not saying we should not preach the word of Satoshi. I think we should, but we should not force it on people. That's what I'm saying. And really, I understand that that it's not for everyone, and people. We should accept that people have different values, different things that are important for them in life, and and I don't know if there was an example of kind of more preachy forcing let's say forcing of thoughts on people that made the world actually better. I think it should at least we should meet in the middle and not push from one side.
Juraj, our time together has been truly enlightening. Thank you for sharing your insights on post-COVID recovery, embracing crypto and tech, and the opportunities presented by longevity and medical tourism. It has been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you as well.
Well, that brings us to the end of this episode. If you enjoyed listening to Mtambo's podcast, don't forget to subscribe, give this episode a thumbs up, and be sure to come back next week for another episode. Until then, this is Jakub Mtambo, and don't forget to do good always.